Tonight on Horror Tales, I'm going to tell you about a village that still exists. A village that looks completely normal during the day. A village where children laugh, smoke rises from kitchens, and elders sit under banyan trees discussing ordinary things. But when the clock strikes 7 p.m., everything changes. Doors slam shut. Windows are covered, lamps are lit, and not a single soul dares to step outside. This is the story of the village where nobody dares to go after 7 p.m. I didn't believe it at first. Stories like this sound like exaggerations, like old folklore meant to scare children into behaving. But some stories aren't designed to entertain. They're designed to warn. The first time I heard about the village, it wasn't from the internet or a stranger. It was from my grandmother. She never used its real name. She just called it that place. Whenever I asked her about her childhood, she would happily talk about festivals, harvest seasons, and river baths, but if I ever asked where she grew up, her expression changed. She would look at the clock, and if it was anywhere near 7 p.m., she would change the subject immediately. One night, during a storm, when electricity failed and darkness swallowed the house, I saw something I'll never forget. The digital clock on the wall blinked 6:59 p.m. My grandmother, who had been calmly telling a story moments before, suddenly stood up and told me to close the curtains. Not jokingly, not playfully, but urgently. I laughed and asked why. She didn't laugh back. She whispered, "It's almost 7. When the clock turned to 7 p.m., she went completely silent. Not a word. Not a movement. I could hear her breathing. Slow, careful, as if even air made noise. 10 full minutes passed before she relaxed again. I asked her what that was about. That was when she told me the rule. "In my village," she said, "nobody steps outside after 7 p.m. Not because of animals, not because of thieves, but because they come." "Who comes?" I asked. "The ones who were taken." According to her, the village had once been ordinary, peaceful, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Then, one evening, decades ago, a man disappeared. He had gone to fetch water at dusk. By morning, his bucket was found beside the well filled to the brim. There were no signs of struggle, just footprints around the well. Dozens of footprints, barefoot, but none leading away. People assumed he had run away or fallen somewhere. But 3 days later, at exactly 7:12 p.m., someone knocked on his door. 3 slow knocks. His wife opened it. Nobody was there. But across the street, standing in the shadows, was her husband. Watching. She called his name. He didn't respond. He just tilted his head slightly and smiled. The next morning, he was gone again. And from that day forward, the rule was created. Before 7 p.m., every door must be locked, every window covered, every sound minimized, because the ones who disappear return after dark. Years later, after my grandmother passed away, curiosity began to consume me. I kept thinking about that clock, about the fear in her eyes, about the way she said they come. I convinced myself it was superstition, old village psychology. Isolation can make people believe strange things. So I decided to go there. The village was harder to find than I expected. It wasn't marked clearly on maps. Roads leading to it were narrow and poorly maintained. As I approached, I felt something strange. Not fear exactly, but heaviness. The air felt dense, quiet in a way that didn't feel natural. During the day, it looked completely normal. Women washing clothes, children running barefoot, an old man sitting near the temple entrance watching people pass. When he saw me, he didn't smile. "You're not from here?" he said. "No," I replied, "just visiting." He studied me for a long moment. "Leave before sunset." It wasn't advice. It was instruction. I checked the time. 5:48 p.m. Plenty of time, I thought. I walked through the streets, noticing something unusual. Every house door was reinforced with thick wooden beams. Some had metal sheets nailed across them. The outer walls of many homes had deep scratch marks. Long, vertical, as if someone had dragged sharp tools down them repeatedly. When I asked a shopkeeper about it, she avoided eye contact. "Old damage," she said quickly. At 6:30 p.m., the atmosphere shifted. Children were called inside. Conversations ended abruptly. At 6:45 p.m., I noticed something else. People kept checking the time. At 6:50 p.m., lamps were lit in every house. At 6:55 p.m., doors began shutting, one by one. By 6:58 p.m., the street was empty. Completely empty. It felt wrong to stand there alone, but stubbornness can overpower fear. I told myself I'd stay just a few minutes after 7 to prove nothing would happen. At exactly 7 p.m., the world changed. The wind stopped. Even insects fell silent. It was as if someone had pressed mute on reality. Then I heard it, a single footstep behind me. I turned instantly. No one. Another step. Closer. Then another, and another. Slow. Uneven. Like someone learning how to walk again. My heart began to pound. I scanned the empty street. Every door shut. Every window covered. Then I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The temple bell at the center of the village is made of polished metal. Its curved surface reflects whatever stands before it. In the reflection, I wasn't alone. Behind me, several figures stood silently. Tall, thin, head slightly tilted. When I spun around, nothing was there. But in the reflection, one stepped forward. Its face came into clearer view. It looked human. Too human. Pale skin stretched tightly across its bones. Eyes completely black. No whites. No pupils. Just endless darkness. Its mouth curved into a smile that didn't reach its eyes. I stumbled backward. The sound of more footsteps filled the air now, surrounding me. Circling. I ran toward the nearest house and banged on the door. "Open. Please." No response. Not a single sound from inside. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Then came something worse. Knocking. 3 slow knocks. But not on the door. From the other side of it, as if something was standing inches from the family inside. Knocking to be let in. The knocking moved from house to house. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. A whisper drifted through the air. Not loud. Not echoing. Just close enough to feel against my ear. He shouldn't have stayed. I turned again, and this time, they were visible without reflection. Dozens of them standing in the middle of the road. And every face, every single face, looked like someone from the village. The old man from the temple, the shopkeeper, even a child I had seen playing earlier, all standing outside. At the same time, their lamps glowed inside their homes. That's when I understood. The villagers weren't hiding from something external. They were hiding from versions of themselves. One of the figures stepped closer to me. Its movements were smoother now, more confident. It leaned its head sideways. "You left once," it said. I froze. "I've never been here before," I whispered. The creature's smile widened. "Yes," it said, "you have." Suddenly, flashes hit my mind. A memory I didn't know I had. A child running through these same streets. A grandmother holding my hand. A roar whispered before sunset, and then darkness. The realization struck me like ice water. I had been here as a child, and something had happened, something I couldn't remember. The figures began moving closer in unison. Not rushing, just closing distance. As if certain I wouldn't escape this time, one reached out toward me. Its fingers were long, cold, almost translucent. When it touched my arm, a wave of memories flooded back. I was 5 years old. I had stepped outside after 7 p.m. Just for a second. Chasing a ball, I remember hearing my grandmother scream my name. I remember seeing shapes at the end of the street. And then nothing. The creature's voice echoed inside my head. You were taken. My breathing became shallow, but you were returned. Returned, I whispered. Yes, it said softly, but not alone. The implication hit me like a hammer. If I had been taken and returned, then what else came back with me? The figures leaned closer. You belong to the night, one of them whispered. Suddenly, I felt something shift inside my chest, a coldness spreading through my veins. My vision darkened at the edges, sounds dulled. The village lights flickered, and for a moment, I could see through their eyes. I saw houses from outside. I saw people hiding inside. I saw fear, and I felt hunger, not for food, but for presence. For replacement. Derul was senti, about protection from monsters. It was about containment. The villagers locked themselves in, not to keep something out, but to prevent something from choosing them. Every night, after 7 p.m., to take and return, they walk the streets. They knock. They search for the one whose place they can take. If someone opens the door, if someone steps outside, the exchange happens. And by morning, life continues. But someone inside is no longer the same. The figures stopped inches away from me. Their black eyes stared deeply. You were marked, one said. My reflection in the temple bell shifted. For a split second, my eyes looked like theirs. Completely black. The realization terrified me more than their presence. Was I becoming one of them, or had I always been? The air grew colder. The figures began stepping back slowly, retreating. As if the night was ending, I checked my phone. 7:59 p.m. The first breeze returned. Insects resumed their sounds. The figures faded into shadows. By 8:01 p.m., the street was empty again. Doors slowly creaked open. Villagers stepped out cautiously. The old man from the temple looked at me with horror. You saw them, he whispered. I nodded. He survived. But his expression didn't hiss or relief, it showed concern. Leave, he said again, and never return. I left that night, but something followed me. For weeks afterward, at exactly 7 p.m., I would feel it, a shift in air. Sometimes, faint knocking from somewhere in my house. 3 slow knocks. Always 3. I don't know if the village chose me, or if I was always part of it. But I know this, some places don't let you leave completely. If you ever find yourself in a quiet village, where doors close before sunset and people refuse to explain why, don't stay to find out. Because, after 7 p.m., they walk, and they're always looking for someone to replace. If this story kept you listening, if it made you feel even a fraction of what I felt that night, then make sure you support Horror Tales by hitting like, share, and subscribe. More stories are waiting, and some of them are far darker than this one.